Welcome, TIL Nation, to our Pastor's Perspective podcast, where we talk to our pastor and leader on different current events and topics that's going on in the world today. And for our last installment of our marriage series, we're accompanied by TIL Nation's own, and we're going to let them introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Bernard Johnson. I'm divorced and now I'm happily remarried.
My name is Jeri Johnson. I'm also divorced and now married happily.
I'm Pastor Kobe Nisbet.
Thank y'all for joining us today. If you guys were tuned in, last week we had three of our brothers here to share their experiences with marriage and divorce. And the previous week before that, we had our TIL Nation's sisters here to share some of their experiences with marriage and divorce. So today we have a married couple that were once divorced and now they're married, and we're going to let them share some of their experiences. So I'll start with you, Bernard. You say that you were once married and divorced, and now you're remarried. What about marriage after the first divorce made you even be interested in being remarried again? What was it that sparked that interest in you that you would take that road again?
I mean, to seriously answer your question, I learned a lot from my mistakes from my first marriage. So since I had grown from that, I was able to admit from the mistakes, I was able to move forward into this marriage. I knew, okay, I've done that before, I probably won't try to do that again. So learning from the first marriage helped me basically, and being healed from the first marriage too, trust me, helped me open my heart up to the idea of the second marriage.
And when you say mistakes, and not so much a fault thing, but when you look back, is it something that you looked at and you said, well, in my next wife, I'll look for this, I'll look for that, or is it more so, okay, as a husband, I didn't do this, or I did too much of this, and now as I go into this next one, I'm going to change me? Or was it both? Was it like a 50-50 thing?
I think it was a combination of both. First and foremost, though, I looked into myself and said, okay, you was a knucklehead, you had anger issues, you had this issue, you had that issue. And I made sure I was whole for myself. And I wasn't looking for my wife to make me whole in particular. Now, we become whole and become one. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
But I wasn't looking for my wife to heal me.
That's good.
So by the time I met her, I was already healed and was able to move forward. And that's from looking at myself, saying, okay, I made this mistake, made that mistake. And also looking more at just body parts, if you will, for lack of better terms, and really looking at the woman for who I'm actually marrying versus just how she looks. So,
Jeri, how about you? You stated that you were once married, and now obviously you're married again. What was it about marriage, the sanctity of marriage, that made you say, I'm willing to give it a try again?
Well, honestly, as I was moving here from South Carolina, I was moving here, and actually I met Bernard on the internet. And the internet. And honestly, I was not looking for a husband. I was just looking for something to do because I don't know anybody. And it was like, well, I can start meeting people. It's guys. And I knew one lady who actually went to our church for a while, Kaya, and she lived here, and that was the only person I knew, though. So I was just pretty much just trying to get to know him. But what happened was I met him, and I meant to meet up with him in real life, we call it. And what happened was I had to go back to South Carolina because I still had some stuff to take care of before I actually moved here all the way. So what happened was we had to actually talk on the phone. And I think that had a lot to do with it, and that kind of changed my perspective. As I talked more and more to this man, I was like, oh, he a musician too. And, I just felt like we had so much in common. It was so much clicking, and I didn't want the husband thing, though. I'm going to say this again. After I got divorced, I was fine. I was like, look, I did it once, and actually, I can even think back to when I was like 18, 19. I said I would never get married. And then even, like, my friends always, and if you look at my Facebook, they always make fun of me when I post pictures of me and Bernard, because I always tell them that, I used to tell them, and I used to tell my students and everything, I'm like, love is for suckers, don't be a sucker for love. I said it. I used to stand by it.
Detroit, baby.
I told them, I was like, I'm not going to do this. I was like, I did it before. I was a sucker for love. And I used to tell them that people that were in love have a mental disorder that causes them to act irrational. No, I had this whole thing planned out. Wow. And I said, it's not like this love thing is for people that obviously.
Then here comes
you know,
Saint Bernard.
And then here come Bernard. And then here come this man who just wasn't like anybody else I ever met before. And he was just this interesting person. And as we just got to know each other more and more, it was more so that I was just like, I was kind of open to just dating him and then dating whoever else I wanted to date at the same time. But after talking to him, I was like, I don't want him to date anybody but me. And so I guess that's how that's gonna have to work. We were just pretty much like, well, if you don't want me to date anybody else, you can't date anybody else either. And we were like, yeah, okay, that's how that gotta work. And it's just that's how it went down. I really was not trying to get married. It was not something I was not Ruth looking for a Boaz. Right. I was just looking for somebody to go out with and hang out.
Right.
What about, and without details, but what about marriage when you initially got through with your first one made you take that such a hard stance on love and marriage, period?
Well, I think I told this on my Her Story thing. My husband pretty much just one day was like, I'm not trying to be married. And this is when my middle son was a couple of months old. So I got 2 boys. One is not even, doing anything on his own, and he just walks out. He pretty much was gone. And I was just like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? So obviously, I had to do what I had to do, and I told myself, I'm just not going to get myself in that position. And the way I don't get myself in that position is just don't get married, don't fall in love, and I'll be fine. I can take care of myself. I make my own money. I was one of those black women, y'all. Yeah, I make my own money. I take care of my kids. Look, it's fine and dandy, but it's still something always going to be like missing. It's still something I longed for. And, I just didn't see that marriage was it, because obviously I tried it once and it didn't work. And I'm a scientist. I have, a degree in chemistry. And in my mind, if I do this experiment and it doesn't work, then that's what, you got to accept the results. And my result was that marriage was not for me. And it was love is for suckers. And, just get your thing and take care of your kids and keep it moving.
Right. I'm going to ask you guys something I asked in our previous sessions, and it's always interesting to kind of get your testimony and your take. If you were to turn back the hands of time, and I don't know how old you were, Bernard, the first time you got married, because she keeps throwing you under the bus over here on the side, so I don't know.
She got married twice.
And then for those of you that don't know, they're remarried, but they're married to one another. They're married to one another, so that's awesome. But so as she keeps alluding to, how old were you the very first time that you got married?
I was 23.
23. So if you could talk to 23-year-old Bernard today, you can talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself heading into your first marriage that maybe you didn't know or didn't see coming whenever it is you was getting married?
Well, I would tell my 23-year-old me to pause on marriage. First thing first, get to know who you are first as a man and what you want to accomplish. Go for those goals. Because in your 20s, you're allowed to be selfish. And I would tell myself, take the time to be selfish and think about yourself. Get your money right. Get your career straight. Don't even think about marriage right now. I know she's a nice girl or whatever, and you like what you see, but pause on that for right now. And get yourself together before you try to take care of family.
That's real good. And I think that's real. I think a lot of times we bypass that. I think a lot of times we are so antsy to get married, and we're so antsy we think we can be able to build things, and you can. You ought to build relationships and build families and build your empire together. But it's something about how things can come crashing so quickly whenever it is that we jump past steps and we don't do things that we need to do, as Bernard so eloquently put it. I don't think I can say it any better, that you got to take time to discover yourself. And I think you guys both spoke to that, because if I don't know who I am, if I'm not whole, then I'm just bringing a whole mess to a relationship, into a marriage. So, it's slowing down, getting to know one another, build your career, get your money right, and things of that nature. How about you, Jeri? How old were you when you first got married?
I was 23.
23. Okay.
Yeah, we're the same age.
So what would Jeri today tell 23-year-old Jeri?
Jeri would see. The thing is, we say we build ourselves. Like I waited. I told you I had this plan. I went to college, got my degree. I met my ex-husband while I was in college. I was, graduated. He had his career in the military. So it seemed like
y'all did things.
We did it right, and we had it together.
Sure.
But what I would do is I would tell her to step back and really make sure that that man is the right man.
Right.
Because
right.
I'm not bragging on myself, but I didn't have any shortage of people that I could date.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all these guys I could date.
Right.
it's like I can, you know. But it's like, you know, is this man? Because the thing is, growing up, I found out how to how is a man really is he really into you?
Right.
Because when you're 23, you think a man is into you because he paid one of your bills,
right.
or he did this or he did that. But it's certain things that go deeper than, oh, he just paid my bills.
Sure.
It's something, and it is something innate, I think, that you just learn through experience.
Right.
That I think my 23-year-old self just was infatuated and just saw that, oh, all the boxes are checked. All right, it's time to go.
Right.
Time to get married. Time to make babies.
Right.
And I would tell my 23-year-old self that everything is not that cut and dry.
Right. Exactly.
Because that's what I always felt, is everything was just tum 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 tum, and
Right.
it wasn't like, it obviously didn't work out like
Right,
that.
exactly. And I think that's really good because they kind of opposite. You know, Bernard kind of jumped in, and then she kind of was didactic and took her calculated moves and did this and did that, and then whoop, there it is. You still still got a surprise. And I think that's very important for us to understand and for us to know that, you know, I don't care how calculated your moves are. I don't care, as I've said over and over again, I don't care how many counseling sessions you go to, I don't care how many books you read, don't matter how many seminars you go to, life itself is the only thing that can prepare you for marriage. They say love is blind. And marriage is an eye opener. Nothing wakes you up in the morning like marriage in your cup, you know. So I think that's good. And with you all, you know, navigating through the things you guys have navigated through and gone through what you've gone through, and yet taking your own separate journeys, your own separate paths. I think it's commendable for you guys to still be standing. Go ahead, Bernard.
Okay, chime in on. And look, I know this is a Christian broadcast, but I believe we have to keep it real as well. I would tell my 23-year-old me as well, pause on the sex with her.
I got you.
Pause, because honestly, you're a young man.
Mm-hmm.
My nose is wide open.
Right.
Everything else is now blind, and that's
Right.
all I'm thinking of. And a
Right.
lot of people make the mistake that I like
That's
doing that,
what
right?
you did. Yeah, okay. I got you.
Throwing stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, especially young men,
Sure.
young people in general, y'all feel as though because y'all connect in the bedroom that y'all connect everywhere else.
Right.
And that's a false positive, if you will.
Sure.
Because y'all getting it on
Right.
in the bedroom don't mean you should be.
Right.
Yeah. You can edit that out.
I got you. No, we rolling. He
But,
talk with his hands, y'all. He's a bass player. So y'all getting it
Top
on.
of my hand. But because you get along in the bedroom, though, don't
Sure.
mean it should go any further than that.
Right.
And a lot of times it's cliche to say, well, you should remain abstinence, but there's a reason for that, because sex will cloud your judgment.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think because this is a Christian program, that I mean that it is so important for us to remain abstinent, because whenever it is that we engage, you know, when we're getting it on, and we're doing that, it totally changes the relationship. It changes dynamics of the relationship. And a lot of times, what happens whenever it is that I think I shared before that I was at a Christian event with some singles, and we were giving our take on singleness and saying that you ought to wait until you get married. And the young lady, I'll never forget, the young lady said, "That's old school thinking. Nobody does that anymore." And then we got a 90-day rule now, and all these other things that go on. But whenever it is that you put the cart before the horse, it does clog your vision, clog your thinking. And then as a man, as Bernard said, not just a man, but I'm just going to key in on what you said. Whenever it is that you're out there sowing your wild oats, and now you have children, and now things transpire, and then that even more entangles the relationship. So I think it's so important. And Jeri said something that I wanted to say, but it slipped my mind. I think as you said, getting to know the individual, make sure the individual is the right one for you. And I think Sister Coleman said this a few weeks ago, and this is the only last time I'm giving her credit for this. She said that it's not that they're not a good man or a good woman, but are they a good man or a good woman for me? And I think that is so key, because you somebody's Boaz, as you said, you're somebody's Ruth, you're somebody's knight in shining armor. You're somebody that somebody's going to come and you guys are going to compliment one another. But whenever it is that we begin to have sex, or we begin to just want to fill a void or fill a gap, or we feeling lonely, or we feeling like our biological clock is ticking, or we getting older and all these different things, and we start to just diving into relationships, and we don't take into account, is this the right person for me? But then most importantly, is this the person that God wants me to be with? And whenever it is I start getting ahead of God, we got a tragedy on our hands.
Jeri spoke to she almost turned against love. Not almost, she did. She was dead set against it. She taught the kids to not do it. When you got through with your divorce, is that a process that you had to get back into saying, I'm interested in being married again? Or did you go through a phase where you said, never again, I'm never going to do it? Or was marriage something you always said, well, I ultimately want to be married?
I believe I ultimately wanted to be married. There's some guys that value being single and being wild out there. For me, I always value family. So to me, the ultimate man is the family man. So I always wanted that. I just wanted to make sure I had that with the right person. So that's pretty much it.
Jeri, what was some of the steps that you took? You spoke to how you felt, but before talking to him, what was some of the steps that you were taking to complete yourself before you stepped into that next marriage? What was some of the stuff?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is it took a lot of prayer, because my issue was, even after I was divorced, I was not over my ex-husband, because it's not like he did something to me and he made me not love him anymore. It's not like I just cut that off and I was just like, well, it's divorce, let's sign the paper, now I don't love this guy no more. So the first thing I had to do, and I tell people this all the time, it took a lot of prayer, and I had to stop eating, and I just really, really prayed to God to take that love away so that I won't love him. And that was I know it sounds kind of like,
No, that's key. That's good.
I mean, I was like, please God, please let me stop loving this guy. And once that happened, I feel like it was, I can't remember the exact day or time, but I just know that at that point I was over him. And once I was over him, now I was more open to just the dating process. And, 21st century dating is something else. And just, like I said, I met him online. And I mean, he wasn't the first guy I met online, though, and I wasn't the first woman he met online.
Don't get the big beard. Don't get the big beard.
I mean, I'm just being completely transparent. Sure. It's not like, oh, she's over her ex-husband, now she meets Bernard, and now it's just that's how that is 110% not how it went.
Right.
I dated many guys, okay,
right.
And I tell Bernard this all the time. Like, I've dated guys for an average of a week and a half, maybe.
All right, player.
Okay. No, it wasn't like that, though. But I'm going to tell you what it was. I would date the guy. We would go out, I would see where he would take me. And so that tells me something. I see how, see if I'm physically attracted to this man and all this stuff. And then I would pray. After every date I went on, I would pray. And I say, God, if he's not the one, please show me now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be married to this guy, and then somewhere down the road, 5-6 years down the road, now I know that he's not a good guy. I'd be like, show me now. Show me the sign now. And I'm going to tell you, he showed me every single time. Right. Every single time I was like, oh, no, he crazy.
Right.
Oh, this woman calling my job. I can't date this guy either.
Right.
Or,
sure.
It was and I'm telling you, I know it sounds like mumble jumble, but I'm telling you, it's 100% for every single guy I dated. When I prayed to God, like, show me if this is not the man, he showed me. Now, I won't say I listened to God every single time.
Right.
Sometimes
he
showed me,
and
I was like, well,
yeah, exactly.
But he got green eyes.
Right.
He's real pretty.
Right.
But it's still, I was shown every single time.
Sure.
So I just wasn't like, everybody that knew me knew I wasn't about that. I wasn't about dating somebody for long, extended periods of time. Because I just was not, honestly, like I said, I was like, well, if he's not the Marian type or anything like that, he wasn't for me anyway.
Right,
and I wasn't the Marian type either. And then that was another thing. Like, some guys were the Marian types, and I'd be like, no, I wasn't trying to do that with you. So that didn't work either. But see, they came at a time where I was still in love with somebody else.
And that's what I'm finna key back to. Take a moment down memory lane if you can. Mm-hmm. What is it like being angry, hurt, devastated, I can't imagine, Lady C one day just saying she don't want to be with me no more. Y'all gonna have to come find me. And she's just up and just gone.
Yeah.
But speak to that for a moment. Being angry, hurt, and devastated, and then all at the same time realizing you have to get over this individual and you have to move on with your life. What did that look like?
Well, I'm going to say this. It wasn't one day.
Right.
It wasn't 1 month.
Right.
It wasn't even a year.
Right.
It's just a slow process where you just try every day to just get more over it.
Right. I got
And just, try to focus on you. And this is when I went back to school to get my next master's. It's also when I, started working out. I started just thinking about things that made me happy. I started crocheting. Yes, I can crochet. And look.
Shameless plug.
Boring.
My son saw me. They was like, "You're not a grandma. Why are you doing that?"
Right.
I was like, "Well, I like to do it." So, but the thing is, I think once you start working on you, you slowly, like Bernard was saying, get to know you better. And then once you know yourself, you say, "Well, how was I even married to that person?"
Right.
I don't even get how I was ever married to that person.
Right.
That person never really completed me the way that this person completes me.
Right. That's fine. That's good.
I mean, like y'all know me as the musician, but I couldn't play that well when I first moved here. I was okay, but being married to somebody, it's okay. But it's true though. It's true. And I'll be the first one to admit it. But I met somebody who told me, well, if you're gonna get better, you're gonna have to practice and be on me about it. Like if we singing a song and I don't know it like how it's supposed to be learned, he got on me, and I was upset at him about it. But it just made me better.
Sure.
My ex-husband wouldn't have known anything about music. I would never be in the position that I'm in had I not went through that.
Right,
I think a lot of times people think like, oh my God, like you went through that. But I feel like I went through that to get into a better situation.
Right.
And it's just day by day, just get a little better and a little better. Because the thing is, people think they're going to just pray and it's going to go away.
Right, and that's what I want to ask you. I mean, because so many times we see, in a general sense, we see individuals be so involved in a relationship, be it a marriage or really a real deep relationship, and they try to move on, but they haven't dislodged. You haven't dislodged that individual, that person. You still got residue all on you. But what is it that you, and I know we can't speak for other people. I mean, what was it that Jeri said to Jeri that made Jeri say, I'm not going to carry this. I got to stop this. I got to move on. What was that?
Well, when I think about it, I honestly think that once and this is gonna sound a little interesting for some people, once I could see him with his new wife, with my kids, and not get upset, I felt like that was that turning point.
I got you.
Like, okay, and she hugged my children. That's fine. And and I'm telling you, it was a process though. When I first met the woman who is now married to my ex-husband, I was like, man, did the ink, did it dry yet?
Right, I got you.
I mean, like,
I got
so,
you.
and
Sure.
and it's like that. But honestly though, to say this, him getting married helped me move on.
Right.
Because once he got married, it was
closed the door.
It's no way. He obviously, I mean, if his actions ain't say it, this is obviously it. And
right, I got you.
then, just slowly, I think you just got to keep your mind open. Because I think a lot of times when we have these blended families, I'm the mom of the children, and then this is my kid's stepmom, you automatically want to put them as a villain, when at the end of the day, if you just probably took a normal conversation with that person, you will see. Because what happened was, and I can remember this vividly, I went to go pick my children up because my ex-husband had them over the weekend, and they were about to come with me, and their stepmom called to them and said, hey guys, you didn't give me a hug. And I was like, oh, maybe she's not so bad. Like, oh, okay. All right. And that's when you just got to stop being, because I'm telling you, all off top, every woman does this. She says, well, she's not as cute as me. I look better than her. I got more going on than her. And blah, 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 blah. But it's not about that. And once you realize that it's not about that.
She didn't say it wasn't that. She said it's not about that. I got you.
That's right.
Be that as it may. All right. But go ahead.
But it's not about that. And I think I just putting on your big woman, your big man pants.
Right.
Because he has to do the same thing. He has to look at, my kids or his kids with another person. And it's just, we have to just, put that aside. Once you put that aside and say, this is actually about somebody other than me. I know we haven't started talking about the kids yet, but when I really had to look at them and say, what kind of mother would they like? Would they like a mom who's sitting there bickering with their stepmom and being all mad and giving her the mean face? Or would they just like it cordial?
Right, I got
And
you.
at that point, I was like, it's a turning point for me. I was like, she might not be all that bad. And after that, I speak to her, and it's a good and cordial relationship now.
Right, that's good. I'm going to throw it back to Angela. Let me ask one more question to Bernard. You said something really good, and I want you to kind of expound if you can. You said, Angela asked you, what was your mindset? You knew you was going to get married, you wanted to be married, and you kind of said that you had this ideal of a man as a family man or a real man. Can you kind of speak that where that kind of came from, or what's your focus or what's your mindset when it comes to that family guy?
Okay, well, my dad are like this. We're very close people. Okay. And something my dad used to tell me when I was a teenage boy, he said, son, any 17-year-old boy can sleep with a bunch of girls.
Right.
That's not a real accomplishment. But it takes a real man to hold down a household and take care of a wife. And that's really stuck with me. And my dad's opinions means a whole lot to me.
Okay.
So when he said that to me, is it like I said, it just stuck there.
Right.
And so as growing up, my idea of a man was that guy my dad described.
Right.
That man taking care of the household, not the guy sleeping with a bunch of women.
Sure.
Now look, I ain't perfect, been there, done that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, though, it never
something clicked for you.
Yeah, it never
right.
felt
I got
complete.
you. Right.
Yes.
Right.
So.
Go ahead if you. No,
No, that's
okay.
awesome.
And I said I'm so sorry, but and I seen something. I heard something just now because Bernard said this mindset of what that man was because he was fathered. You were fathered.
Yes.
And then now Jeri, she didn't say this, but she got to correct me if I'm wrong. I know daddy was there. Daddy's in your life, and that type of persistence, that type of turning the corner, that type of all right. Let's move on. Let's keep on. Life isn't over. We're sorry that this didn't work out. I'm sorry, this didn't happen. I think a lot of times we kind of miss this in our society. We miss this when it comes down to our families. That parenting role, that fathering role, it really shapes us. It really shapes us. And it is so important and so valuable. Even she didn't say it, but I know God did it. No, I don't sound like she had too much Holy Ghost, all that dating stuff she was doing. So I don't know if God, God, somebody, daddy, mama, some proper upbringing. I know you were reared in the things of God, so I can speak to that. But I don't know all of the dynamics. I ain't trying to get into all that. But my point is, it says something whenever it is that you either model family or you model persistence, you model being able to stick and move. Life is not going to go your way. Things are not always going to work out. You're not always going to land the job. Your marriage may not work out. Things may not be picture perfect, but you got to get back up. And I think that's so important when we're doing life, and especially when we have children. I am literally shaping my child and molding my child for tomorrow. The Bible talks about how God gives us children and their arrows, and it's our responsibility to shoot them in the direction that God. We're not God, we're not supposed to be the wind, but we're supposed to be the ones that's supposed to be able to shoot the trajectory on where it is that they're going. And so it has so much to do with, I believe, in my case, and I'm hearing it in your cases as well, that you were able to know what that picture was and know that you can keep on going because of, among other things, but especially speaking to that home. But I want to say something else.
Oh, you're exactly right. And being that father figure is so imperative of us to instill that in our children. They can have someone to model after. But
Yes,
you're 100% correct. And my dad wasn't perfect. He had a lot of faults. But it's even still, even with his faults, I was able to learn how to be a man through his example.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank God for him every day.
Very good, very good, very good.
And I want you to go back to what you were saying. After your marriage, you had to then you had to work on being yourself. What was some of the things you did that helped you find who you were before you moved on, that made you complete as a man before you decided to pursue?
Well, the first thing is honesty. And I think honesty is a big thing. You got to be honest with yourself.
That's good.
It's easy. It's an easy way out to paint your ex as the complete villain.
Right.
And now look, my ex, she definitely have her faults, but that's something she have to work on. I can't do that for her.
Right.
And then once I realized, okay, she wasn't the villain, then what was wrong with me?
Right.
Maybe calling her name is not a good thing for your marriage, right?
May not work that well.
Out is not a good thing for your marriage.
Right.
Having anger problems, because I'm a war veteran. I shared that with you guys before. So by the time I came home, I only been home for a year and a half, 2 years when I met her. So I had a lot of mental issues going on with me, a lot of anger built inside me by that point.
Wow.
And these are things that I had to learn to accept that, hey, you do have a problem. You have a problem with PTSD. You do have a problem with drinking. You have a problem with anger. And I had to square myself away and take an honest look at myself. And my dad said something to me, another daddy moment here. He said, son, whatever you do not lie to yourself.
Right.
You be honest with yourself. So honesty really got me to where I was before I met my wife.
Right. That's good. That's good. Go ahead.
On a previous episode, we're gonna dig a little bit. We had a statement from Miss Coleman. She had a lot of quotes from her episode.
Ain't get no more credits as a Coleman now.
She said a man needs to know how to handle her. Oh, yeah.
She said, oh.
And you sound like after your marriage you had that real soldier-like mentality that it would be hard for a man to break through. What was it that he came with that was different, that allowed him to bring that guard down and help you see things differently?
Well, I'm gonna say.
She looking like I gotta go home.
Well, no, he's right. No, I was definitely, just, I had a very hard exterior. But I will say this. It was something about, like, I'm going to kind of say what he was saying, kind of being real with who I am. And I knew the type of woman that I was. And honestly, I dated, and I had to be honest with myself, I dated a lot of weaker men. And I pretty much tell them to sit down, they would sit down. And I meet this guy, and he says no.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, all right. And but it wasn't in a demeaning way. It's a woman like me just needs somebody to command their presence and attention, but not in a way where I feel like you telling me what to do at the
not
same
abusive.
time.
Yeah, I got
like
you.
you're not. He's not verbally saying, "Well, you shut up and sit down."
Right.
He's like, "Sweetheart, we need to sit down," and I'm like, "All right, well, we're
Right,
sitting.
that's good.
We're sitting.
That's good.
Okay." And the thing is, he came out of a place of love. I could see that everything he was saying was out of a place of love. It was never a point where I felt like he was trying to use me, because I went through that too. Because of course, every woman dates a young man. We all do it. So I had my little 20-something-year-old, and I just felt like it is what it is. And and I dated guys who I felt like just kind of wanted to date me because she's pretty successful. She owns her own home and all this stuff. So and I had guys that try to come and live in my house, and it was just a mess. Right. So when I met somebody who was so just about being a man,
right.
He reminded me a lot of my dad, actually. And because my dad was in the picture, the Reverend Doctor.
Reverend Doctor.
Yeah. But yeah, he was definitely in the picture, and I saw the type of man he was, and I just longed for that person who could step up and be the man, but allow me to say what I have to say,
right.
and listen to me,
right.
but still at the end of the day, still be that man,
right.
and
That's
just
good.
be a man.
Right.
Like, nothing against the guys out now, but they just not that manly for me.
Right.
Like,
right.
Just me personally, I just need the manly man.
And I see you just stricken over, Mr.
Yeah.
Bell Chauvinist over there. Just
a manly man, not to be,
Yeah, and I think that's
tell me what to do or anything.
Yeah.
It was just more so, I just see you have the best interest of the family at heart.
Sure.
I see. So I'm gonna follow that.
I think a lot of times, Jeri, men want to lead, but we don't posture ourselves to lead. And that's just an honest statement. And so I think a lot of times, most women don't mind following, don't mind being submissive. Your favorite verse, wives, submit yourself. every time I preach that verse, he hit the base. That's his favorite scripture. But it's another verse. You got to read another verse. But I think a lot of times that most women don't mind following, but you just got to give me, Buster Brown, something to follow. I don't mind you leading, but just give me something to follow. And I think it's a balance, because at the same time, Jeri, as you said it yourself in the intro, that you were that strong black woman. I'm a woman, hear me roar. I got my own job, got my own career, got my own this. I don't need no man. I got my own house, got all that. And I think sometimes when we have to hold it down, and we are that strong, and you've been dating Wimpy. I don't want to say Wimpy Williams, because that's my first name. Wimpy Wilbur. He's just telling them do this and tell them do that, and he's doing it. And I think a lot of times when it comes to the ladies, they don't know how to kind of dial it down, dial it back, and kind of let the individual. I think it's a balance, and I think wherever you find yourself at, I think it's important for you to kind of be, as Bernard said, very good. Be honest with yourself. Be honest where you are, because we're not to be dictators. We don't tell our wives to do this and tell them to do this and tell them that you got to do this. No, that's not how we do. We ought to lead them. We ought to lead them in a way that where they desire to follow. And I built so much equity in my relationship. Me and Angelo has talked about this off the air. We've talked about the equity that I built in my marriage, and I'm by no stretch of imagination am I a perfect husband, by no stretch of imagination, ladies, see a perfect wife, but we perfect for one another. But it was a time in our relationship where I have an idea, have something I want to do, and she'd be like, ask me all these questions, and then like, all right, okay, and then we'll do it. But now, 15 years later, and here God has been semi with me on some things that I said, okay, let's do this and let's do that. And now it's to the point that where she like, if that's what you feel like we need to do, then that's what we need to do. And so I didn't get, as you said, I didn't get there overnight. I didn't get there overnight. And then when we first got there, I was like, you good? You okay? You sure? You're going to ask me 1,000 questions? I mean, you're going to rebuttal or whatever case may be. But we work to that. And I think a lot of times in relationships or marriages, we want one side. We want to either be that dominating man, that where I say, I'm the man, I'm the head, follow me. Or we want to be that wife that you hear what I got to say. This is what I do. This is what I got. I'm just, it's me too. Me too. Yeah, just leave it at that. It's me too. But at the same time, I think it's not either or. I think it's both and. I think it can be a balance. I think it can be a balance.
And speaking to that man and woman, how important is that, right? For that strong black woman who has her own, has this, to know when to be submissive, but what submissive is, not being told what to do at the same time, not trying to be dominating in the relationship. How does she find that balance, or what should she do to find that?
Well, I think it's just experience. It's gonna just teach you some stuff, because I can easily go back into some of the relationships or some of the people I dated and stuff and say, I was a little too harsh with that guy. Like, maybe I should have called him out of his name.
Right,
okay.
Right. Yeah, that kind of
sucker.
Yeah, that worked. Yeah.
So
poor Wilbur.
So I think it's just experience. I think, and a lot of times people they just
That's
expect this, and they see me and Bernard, and they like think that this just happened. Like it just was, and it didn't just happen. It was a process. It was a long process. If you ask me, I was divorced for over 5 years before me and Bernard got together. So it's just a process, and I mean, honestly, I just feel like you just have to kind of look at yourself and just say, at the end of the day, do I want to be single for real? Because I think my outer person and my brain was saying be single because that's what makes sense. Right. Not gonna get hurt. Be single. Right. You got this. But then my heart was saying something else. Right. The bed is real cold at night. When you just in the bed by yourself. Right. And I did have 2 male sons, and their dad was overseas, because like I said, he was still in the military. So do I want to raise the kids by myself? Right. I mean, I'm doing this, but and it's something that he said to me, because everybody that knows me and they know I used to call myself Superwoman because I do all this stuff. I'm Superwoman. And he told me that when I got with him, he said, you know what, sweetheart, you don't have to be Superwoman anymore. Right, that's good. I got this. Right. I'm going to be Superman. You just be Jeri. Right, and once you kind of set yourself up like that.
Bernard, I did say that. Bernard, I did say that.
Once you set yourself up for that, you're like, well, yeah, it's like, because the thing is, you want to be strong, but it's like, at the end of the day, but do you have to? Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, you did all that, and you worked your 35 hours and 48 hours and however many hours for 2 different jobs. But then at the end of the day, I mean, if you had the choice, would you?
Right.
Because I think a lot of people say that and they be like, well, I'm happy and I'm single and I'm happy. Well, but if you didn't have to be, would you still be though?
That's good. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Okay, all right. So speaking to that young man who wants to get married, but he is standing on that my wife is to be submissive. That's all he's standing on. How important is it for him to understand that submissive goes both ways? It's not just she submissive to me, but also me to her.
Well, now like, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a Bible scholar, so I can't tell you exactly the verse, all right?
Right.
But you got to read beyond what they said in Ephesians. 'Cause after that, it says, a husband shall love his wife as Christ loved the church.
Right. Come
Okay?
On.
So with, yeah, I actually kept reading.
Right.
I know I used to always make jokes about it and just kind of troll other people. I did that on purpose. But really, though, that's a powerful commandment.
Yeah.
It says, love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
Christ gave his life for us.
Yes, sir.
So with that in mind, I got to be willing to lay my life down for my family, for my wife. So it's hard for me to sit here and say, be abusive, if you will, and take that role when the Bible tells me I got to love my wife like Christ loved the church.
Right.
Meaning that I got to be willing to wake up at 3 a.m. and go make some money if money's short.
Right.
That I got to be willing to go that extra step, the extra mile to make sure my family is taken care of.
That's good.
And I took that to heart. So, yes, I would tell any young man, you got to keep reading.
Right.
Just don't stop on that one verse in Ephesians. That next one is, if not even more powerful and more of a powerful commandment toward man than it is to the woman.
Right. That's good.
And not to X out the Bible, but I mean outside of that, it's important to have something for her to submit to, or giving her a reason to be submissive, not just because you say it, but because you've shown something that makes her want to submit.
Most definitely, 'cause if you do follow it, then she will see that. She will see, well, he is willing to get up and bust his tail for us. He is willing to lay his life down. So it's easier. It would make it a lot easier for her to say, well, he is willing to sacrifice everything to make sure we're taken care of.
Right.
So I can follow that guy.
Right. That's
But no, I'm getting a lot of points after this interview.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's good. And before I know we got to speak to this the blended family, because I don't think it's a lot of literature or a lot of things that we can go to that kind of shows us how it's done. But before we go there, I want to, because the transformation that I've seen in your life over the last 5 years, it's been 4 or 5 years. I don't know exactly how long it's been. It's been just really remarkable. Bernard came through the door back 2015 over was on Main Street, and Bernard from our initial few encounters, I was saying to myself, I was telling my wife, man, I'm praying this joke out of here, because he got to go. He trying to get her to go play somewhere else and go to this, and he can go get this. And I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? He was so gangster, had somebody come to our church while we were playing or whatever. And anyway, let me just hold on. He's like, oh, that happened? Yeah, it did. But anyway, I just smiled and stand at the door. I just looked like this. But anyway, I was trying to pray this joke off. But talk about the transformation as relates to Jeri in your life, and some things that kind of took place in where you were, your spiritual state, as relates to in the beginning of the relationship, and in that kind of little journey that you got on and that you're currently on.
Well, I think I shared this before. My wife was like to say borderline atheist when I first met you, and the thing is with me, I thought pastors all ran the same scam.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought church was a scam, to be honest with you.
I got you.
So I didn't really value anything said at the pulpit. 'Cause to me, I was like, well, his title's a pastor, but he put his pants on just like I put his pants on.
Right. It's like, are you sure? Right, I got you. Sure, that's fair.
So I was very distrustful, and not just you of any pastor.
No, sure.
And so I think, my wife dragged me to the church. Okay, honestly, as you probably know, I'm like, man, this little church, they can't even afford to pay me. So for my wife said, well, come on, give it a chance. And her being fine as she is, I was like, well, I'm just going to pay attention.
Right, I got you. I'm following the hips.
Exactly.
Right.
What happened is that the word started soaking into me. And and I think God had opened my heart to
Mm-hmm.
receive some of the word. And believe it or not, I actually started listening back there. I was like,
got you.
actually, that's making a lot of sense.
Right.
Oh. And then I started doing some little reading, like, oh, okay, I think the little dude is pretty legit, you know?
Right.
And over, but no, and there was my mindset then.
Sure,
of course,
sure.
Pastor knows I have the utmost respect.
Yeah, we good.
Yeah.
We good. Yeah.
But so I think just opening my heart and letting God in, and like
Sure.
I said, also being honest.
Right.
I had to tell myself, well, I don't know all the answers.
Right.
I'm not the final say.
Right. That's good.
So with that process, I slowly but surely started following the word of God and really taking it seriously.
Right. That's good. And Jeri was very instrumental in
Yes, most
yeah.
definitely. And she was very patient with me.
Right.
She wasn't one of the type of women that, hear the word, and hit you upside the head with
Right,
it.
right,
She
right.
didn't, and she wasn't, one thing I always appreciate about my wife, she wasn't super judgmental.
I got you.
You know, now she'll say, "Well, baby, maybe you shouldn't say that, especially in the church." She was
Right,
so
I got you.
Right.
Right.
One of those
Right.
things, but she really gave me room to grow,
That's good. That's good.
and
That's
she
good.
wasn't like that helicopter parent, if you will.
Right,
We see
sure.
those people.
Right.
Now. So she gave me a lot of room.
That's good, and I think God hooks us up with people that help us on our journey. Because I mean, you know, just based off of where you were and based off where you are now, you know, if it wasn't for her approach and wasn't for her patience and wasn't for her how influential she is in your life, then you know maybe you would be where your spiritual condition is right now, or maybe it wouldn't. But we'll just have to kind of err on the side of saying it wouldn't. Go ahead.
Well, I'd be comfortable to say I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
I got you.
I definitely wouldn't have, because she really is one of the driving forces for me to be here.
Right.
And now there's other ministries out there, but TIL, the way you guys operate, and you operate truth and love, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So even though you may have felt that way, but I still felt the love from within the church.
right,
and it
right.
wasn't like, oh my God, he said this, or it wasn't overly, for lack of a better term, overly religious. Like, I can't be around him anymore. Everybody didn't shudder every time I talked.
Right, I got you.
Said something.
Right.
Even if it was off the wall, you know?
Right, I got you. Yeah.
So, and I'm very appreciative.
Right, very good. Jeri, just for a second before we transition, minister to someone. Speak to that wife, that husband. You know, is that borderline atheist, or that one that's not the religious type, so to speak. And guess what kind of did you do, or just kind of encourage, or speak in that area a little bit if you can?
Well, I'm gonna say this. Like I said, I'm a PK. Both of my parents are preachers all throughout my family. So church was nothing.
You got a little preaching in you too. You got a little preaching in you too. Now you let her come up here. Next thing you know, she
church is not foreign for me. So I guess with that I can spot when something is very real. I feel like once I met Pastor and First Lady, it was something so real about them that it was so real that even my being in church my whole life, I felt like I was just starting over. I used to say this when we were going home. I'm like, I've heard that scripture thousands of times, but I never have heard it like that. And I think if you're a wife or you're a husband and your spouse is not saved, I feel like you just can't throw TD Jakes at them.
Right.
It has to be the right thing. And the thing is, it has to personally, first of all, speak to you.
Right. That's good.
And if that pastor is not speaking to you and changing you as well, because I think a lot of times people feel like, well, I'm the Christian person, so I got it made.
Right.
You need to get on my level.
Right.
Get on my level.
That's good.
It was never that. I felt like I was growing, and me thinking like I've been in church my whole life and I'm growing, I'm like, I know that somebody who really doesn't even really, he's kind of like on the fence about the Jesus thing.
Right.
That's kind of how he kind of put it.
Right.
I knew that the word that was coming forth was going to penetrate because it was something about the way you was bringing. It was so relatable. It was very factual and relatable. And it just was something else. It was something that just blew my mind. And I'm just going to say that you just keep praying. If you just keep praying, don't jam it down them. Don't force it on them. Don't if you're already married to that person, you're married.
Right.
So at this point, I mean, you're married. So
Right.
I would say just like it's not like we're in a car and I'm like, well, Bernard, we're gonna listen to church music right now because
Right.
that's what we're listening to.
Right.
It's never like it was
Right.
never
That's
like
good.
that.
That's
But
good.
eventually, now all we listen to is the service because we be listening for stuff.
Right.
But that's all we listen to. That's all we listen to. We listen to the service. We listen to practice or something like
Right,
that.
sure.
But
Practice. We talking about practice.
we listen to it.
Right, I
We
got
record
you.
all of
I
it.
got you.
So
She misses. You know, don't worry about that.
I did. I
I'm
know.
talking about practice. Allen
Practice.
Iverson.
Allen Iverson. You're talking about practice.
Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. He didn't
They
know what I
on
was
it.
talking about.
They on it.
Okay, all right. Okay,
We
go
get
ahead.
all the references. We just growing at that time. We got all the references.
I got you.
But yeah, so I'm gonna just say, just give it time, and I'm just gonna say, just let that word play, let it play, and it's gonna eventually penetrate. I just
Right.
feel like it might not penetrate fast.
Right.
It's still penetrating for me. I just still
Right,
feel
sure.
like when the word is coming forth, I gotta like go and read it again and read it again because it's something about it that is so. When you just gotta keep growing as yourself. I just feel like the thing I'm getting away from that is you just gotta keep growing as yourself. Be under somebody who's helping you grow, and as you grow, he gotta come on.
Right. That's
He
good.
got to come on.
That's
It's
good.
just gonna happen. Not a time frame, but it's gonna happen.
That's good. That's good.
Sticking with that topic, coming from the side where you have men, myself at one point thinking that a man was God's gift to woman, but it's actually the other way around. Speak to how not only did she change you spiritually, but having a wife has changed a lot in you, more than just your spiritual side, a lot of things. Not to say that if you're a man and you don't have a wife, you won't be successful or you can't be happy, but I'm pretty sure that now that you have a wife, you can see a shift in your life before you had one.
Yeah, most definitely. It's always great to have somebody that's rooting for you, that's in your corner.
Right.
And me being a musician, that's not exactly the job that people think of like, yeah, he's a musician. He's super successful, making a lot of money. That's not, we all heard the phrase starving musician. But God blessed me with a woman that never was the woman that said, why are you doing that again? Oh, why you got to be out again tonight? She never, I can honestly said, never did that.
That's
I
good.
played all over the city, different states or whatever, and I never once had that complaint from her. And in fact, she helped me get music equipment. She helped me push my dream, and she kept pushing me. And that's one of the benefits of having a supportive wife, is having that woman there that said, I got your back, baby, no matter.
Right.
Even when I fall, even when I fail. She's like, that's all right, baby. Scratch her back. Let's get up, and we're going to try this again.
Right.
And that's rooting interest. And is that, honestly, it's nothing better I could think of
Right. I
than
agree.
having that woman
I
on
agree.
your side.
I agree. That's
Go
good.
ahead, Pastor.
That's really good. That's what God gave us. That was the ideal of marriage. He said God told Adam, "I'm giving you this woman to be your helpmate," and that's what they're supposed to do. They enhance our lives. They make our lives better. They help us, as you said. They shape us. They mold us as relates to pushing us into being who it is that God ultimately wants to be. So that's really good, and I think that's the perfect illustration of it.
Wrapping up, would you speak to the importance or what a husband has done? Having a husband has changed your life and the different things, especially him coming from that mentality to the way you look at things now. How has it helped shape you?
Well, having a husband just kind of gives you, as a woman, a breath of fresh air, because when you don't have that man, is you just all the time. You're always on. With a husband, especially a supportive husband as mine, I can just be gone. Like, we got a lot of kids, so.
How many exactly?
It's
Tell
a
the audience.
lot.
The audience.
I mean, we haven't went into that yet, I
Okay.
guess. Are we supposed to get into that?
I am. I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap up. I'm talking about these
I'm
kids.
about to say, when you talking about the kids, that's what I was here to talk about the kids. But it's just, it gives you that fresh air. The husband is supposed to be there to, and I'm still gonna admit, I do work a lot still. Like, I mean, I'm still a teacher. I'm still doing what I have to do and trying to, doing other stuff. But he lets me rest. That's the best way I can put it.
Wow.
Yeah, and women, we need some time in there where we can just rest.
Right.
And he gives me that, and I didn't have to pay the babysitter or anything like that. is
So what
I
you
used
saying
to
when he
have to
gives
do.
you rest, you saying he swoops in, he takes pressure off of you.
Yes, that's
he
what
helps
it is.
you.
The
Okay, I got you.
pressure.
That's good.
It's like that pressure
good.
that's usually on my back because I can't just go off on the principal because that's my job.
Right.
You know, and
Definitely
not that
can't
that's
go
something
off
I
on me.
want to do.
Right.
Okay, of course,
Right.
Darnell put me in Austin spots where but it's something about just having to always, and I tell them this, always be on.
I got you.
And when he's there, now I don't have to always be on.
That's
I
good.
can just kind of, all right, because we need that woosah.
Right.
You know, we just need that time. And once we do that, now I can be the best woman I can be.
Right.
Because without that, then I can't.
Right. That's good. That's good.
And was that a process? You know, when you guys, the early stages, you had to say a lot, baby, you don't have to do this, baby, you don't have to do this. It's something you had to kind of put on her and let her know, hey, I know you used to doing this, but you don't have to do it no more.
Well, I had to earn her trust.
That's
And
good.
yeah, I couldn't just come in there, especially when dealing with a woman that already have children. I can't just come in there and say, boy, you used to do this, you did that. I can't come in there like that. I had to come in there slowly show her that, hey, you could trust me with your boys.
Right.
Hey, you could trust me with the bills. I'm not going to go blow this money. Hey, you
Right.
could trust me with, I had to build up that equity as you talked
Right.
about before,
Mhm.
Pastor.
Right.
I had to build that up with her. And it's not overnight, like we've been saying, it's a theme here. It's not overnight. It took time for us to build up to that point to where she could say, all right, he's not going to beat the crap out of my kids. He's not going to abuse me.
Right.
He's not going to go spend the money on drugs, alcohol, whatever vices people have. And so it just took time to get
That's
to that
good.
point.
That's good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the kids real quick. Then we may have to do a two-parter. So how many kids?
All right, well, I had 2 before we met. He had 3 before we met. And then everybody knows we had Benji together.
Benji. Okay.
Yeah.
And then a recent Facebook post. There's another one on the way.
No, there's not, okay?
Okay. All right.
I put underneath it, was a lie from the pits of hell.
You and the devil is a lie.
Like,
That's what you get.
everything was a
I
lie.
was so mad. I say, Jeri, what are you doing?
We was trying to be like Pete.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I was like, your kids got birthdays every day? How many
Yeah.
kids you got?
like John,
They gonna catch us.
Jacob.
They got some time on it.
Anyway, but so you got a total of 6.
Six and all boys.
6 and all boys.
Boys.
So talk about that because Bernard kind of hit that. I don't know whoever want to tee it up first. I guess from your vantage point, you've already spoken to building the trust. You already spoke to, these are not your kids, and then you got other kids that's coming in. What did that look like? How did you kind of turn that corner?
Well, for me, first I had to learn the boys.
I got you.
I got to know what kind of people they are, and I also had to accept them for who they are too, because I think a lot of time men will come in thinking, well, all little boys gotta be just like me.
Sure.
And
That's
me,
good.
I'm kind of rugged, if you will. When I was young, I like to fight, wrestle, sports, and all that stuff. And Rami and John are not them type of guys, not at all. They're
Right.
more reserved. They like to draw. They more into the arts. Sports not really their thing. And I had to learn how to accept that
Right.
from them.
That's good.
And once I learned, okay, this is just who they are. This is their personality. Now I could learn how do I attack their parenting, if you will? How do I discipline them? And now you guys know me. I'm pretty strict with my children.
Sure.
But before I got to that point, I had to learn them first. So I
got
think the key is for any man dealing with a woman with children is learn their children. And you also got to get along with the children. You have to love the kids as well.
Right.
You can't just be the guy that say, well, I'm just dealing with them just to get with the mama. Because it
Right.
would never work.
Right. That's
Never in a
good.
million years. So you got to have an honest relationship with the kids and really build that relationship to the point to where you actually love the children. And then you could really move with the mother.
That's good. And I've seen so many times where stepfathers coming into the picture and they are being very dominant, being very domineering, and being very forceful with what it is. And just like you just said, just really wants that child to be this particular way. So I think that's some really good sound advice. And you got to win the child first, and then learn the child, and then legitimately love the child, because that's it's only so long you can put up a front, and it's only so long because any real mother worth their salt, they love their children, and they can sense, they got them spidey senses, they can sense whether or not the joker don't really like my child, or they just act in one particular way. So that's really good.
And one
Go
thing
ahead.
is, I never want to put my wife in a position to where she felt like it's either me
That's
or
so
the
good.
kids.
That's good.
As a man,
good.
you never want to.
So what do you do to not put that? What do you do not to put yourself in that position?
Being genuine.
Okay.
If she knows that I'm doing this out of love, because now look, when I get on to the kids, she's sometimes like, I'm getting up, I'm walking out. Cause
Right, I got
at the
you.
end of the day, that's it's her baby, you know.
Right, sure.
But she knows that I'm coming from a position of love,
Sure.
and it's genuine, and I truly love this child. That helps her accept
Right, that's
it
good.
coming from me.
That's good.
So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. Now, from a mother's perspective, I had to, because mothers aren't most times, and in our house, because some people's households are a certain way. He's more of the disciplinary person, and I'm just kind of helping him wherever he needs help in. So what with me and my and we don't even say this in our house, but I'll say this for the podcast. Stepsons,
Sure.
we don't even say that. We
Sure,
don't let the
that's
kids
good.
call each other stepbrothers.
Right,
We don't
that's
say
good.
half nothing. We say y'all all are brothers.
Right.
We've
that's
said
good.
that
Brothers,
since we're
it's
happy. So that's something we've always preached in
That's
our
good.
house. And I'm going to
That's
go back
good.
to my home, because when I was growing up, I had a brother who was my stepbrother, but I never even heard that term,
Wow.
because we never said it.
Yeah, that's good.
We never said it. It just
Right.
wasn't, he was my brother. I never, never thought anything but brother. So that's
Right.
kind of how I kind of treated my sons, with our families coming together, and with coming with, kids who weren't actually in my belly. And then, when I met Braden, he was
Give it to
4, I think. He was 4, and then the other 2, when I met them, they were already like 9 or something like that. So they're older. So
Right.
I didn't know them when they were little. I don't know what kind of foods they like to eat and all this stuff. So what I did was I had to be intentional.
That's good.
I had
That's
to
good.
intentionally get each one. Brandon. Let me get Brandon. What is Brandon into? Okay, Brandon's this super, he takes all these IB classes, and I can connect with him on that level.
Okay.
The next one, Bernard, he's very artsy. He goes to La Villa, we can definitely connect on that music side.
Right.
The youngest one, Braden, he likes to cook. Every day I teach him how to cook something different.
Right.
So, and when you spend that time with the kids, that is when you really start to build that motherly love. Because I'm going to be honest, it's kind of hard, because I have my 2 sons who I love, and then I hug on them, and I'm hugging and I'm kissing them, and then I have these other 3 who aren't my sons.
Right.
They're somebody else's sons. Somebody
That's
else
cool.
is in charge of hugging and kissing them. But
Right.
no, when they're in our home, I feel like I just had to,
That's really
and I mean, this is something I really, and I mean, honestly, when we first got together, and I told him this, I was like, I don't really feel a connection with the boys.
Wow.
I don't. I was like, I don't feel a connection with them. And to get that connection, I just had to intentionally go at each one.
Man, that's so good.
I had to intentionally just
Yeah.
pinpoint each one.
Yeah.
And now those are my babies.
Right. Yeah. that's good.
They're all my babies now.
Right.
I don't look at any one. And even we have his son's brother that comes over that y'all probably seen sometimes, Dylan, and I treat him just the same way. And
Right.
it's just all in being that motherly role for them, showing them the love, showing them how to care for one another, and just be there and be brothers.
Right.
And I feel like that's a very big thing for me, and I try to instill that with them.
That's really good, and you hear the heart of God, because that's what God does. God finds us where we are, and as she spoke to, being intentional. This one likes the arts. This one likes is really a brainiac, and this one likes to cook and all of that. Just finding individuals where they are, and I think so many times as parents, again, we try to force the children to get with us, opposed to you're still in charge, you're still a mom, you're still a daddy, you still whatever. But I think the heart of God is seeing and finding where that individual is, and being intentional to have that connection. How long do you think it took for you kind of turn the corner? Because you said it wasn't a connection, and then now you said those your babies. How long you think?
I want to say it took a while, because at the end of the day, like he was saying, my first 2 sons are they're mild-mannered. They not mannered rather, but just mild acting. They're not really fussy with each other. Like when they're in a house, you don't even know they're there.
Right, I
Like,
got you. Wow.
It's real, like, it's crickets.
Right.
But when the other guys come over, it gets a
WWE.
little bit more rowdy.
Right, I
It's a
got
little
you.
bit more rowdy. They just and bitchy ass to it. So it's like it's a little bit more rowdy. So I'm dealing with these people who are not me. They're not me. They're not my ex. They have no part of me in them.
Right.
And so it was literally, I want to say a couple of years.
Okay, wow.
I mean,
Right.
I'm just be honest. It was
Sure.
a couple of years,
Right.
and it was just, not like he said. We always said this with each other. We don't want to be fake. I'm not trying to be your fake stepmom. That's just, hey, do you want me to buy you something? Or I was
Right.
never none of that. None of
Right.
that. I was just who I was, and just
process
really
of
just
time.
making sure that I just learned them, and like he was saying, I'm learning them. So now we know nuances of each one. And I spend time with each one of them.
Right. That's
Each one
good.
of them I spend time with, and it's just great. It's just great having all these boys. I do wish I would have got that girl, but it's not happening.
I
So
said still a chance.
it
Still a
is
chance.
not happening. No chance, y'all. It's no chance.
I love that what both of you guys saying, and we are going to wrap up. I love what both of you saying that there's no stepmom, there's no stepdad, there's no stepbrothers, no stepsisters, and that's no disrespect to the biological parents and all that. There's no disrespect in that regard. But I believe that when you have that type of mindset, have that type of attitude, you really begin to break down barriers. There's no difference between my biological children and the children that are coming into the marriage. And when we take that type of approach and we're from the beginning saying, no, this is your brother, no, I'm your mother, I'm your dad, it kind of helps that child kind of turn the corner because I think a lot of times we miss the fact, I believe, that being a step parent, and I'm just using the term, I think being a step parent, God puts you on assignment in that child's life. You're not just hooking up. I know you hooking up. I know you're not just not hook up. Holler if you hear me. But it's not just a hookup. But I believe God puts you in the life of that child as a divine assignment because this child is blessed. The child where most children have one mommy. This child has two mommies, and now you are benefited from your biological mother, and now you have benefited from your other mother. You just use the term other mother by marriage, but it's something that God wants you to deposit in that child. It's something that God wants you to pour into that child that they couldn't get anywhere else. And when we go further than that, not just the mother and also the father, but Jesus himself had a stepdaddy. And I think a lot of times we kind of miss that with Joseph. Joseph was on divine assignment. Jesus was not as you just said, did not come from him, didn't have no part of him. He was the stepfather. He was there, but God put him on assignment. When Herod was trying to kill him, he gave Joseph, the stepfather, the dream. He had to take him down to Egypt, stay there for 2 years. God didn't speak to his biological mother, Mary. He spoke to Joseph after 2 years to come back because they were trying to kill Jesus. So it's at times where God assigns children in our lives, stepchildren, and I'm just using the term stepchildren in our lives, not just to hook up with the parent, not just to hook up and be there and get my needs met and all that, and I'm just here because I want him or her, but no, God puts us on assignment. So when we look at it that way, and we be intentional, and we try to figure out what it is about this child that God wants me to connect with and how I can help, how I can shape, how I can mold, I think it makes things so much better, so much better. So I take my hat off to you. There was a lot of kids, first and foremost, but for you all for the age and also the stage that you guys were in life, to come together, and no family is perfect. No family is without its adjustings and the process. But at the same time, with you guys come together, being who you are, and still rolling your sleeves up, sticking at it, saying we're going to do this, we're going to make this work, we're going to make our marriage work first and foremost, and then we're going to do what we need to do with these children. Man, it's absolutely phenomenal. And I take my hat off to you. Take my hat off. You take it back to the host.
And I want to say, we really thank you. We appreciate it. Having you guys in the last episode we were very intentional about that. Having women that had been divorced, nothing wrong with that, and men that had been divorced, nothing wrong with that. But we wanted to finish off with two people that had been married, divorced, and found it again in each other, and went through those different phases and stages of life, and are still currently making it work. So we just want to tell you thank you, and we really appreciate you joining us today. All right.
Very good, very good.
And TIL Nation, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Here comes the church.
Here comes the church.